Start again.
All right, yo, this is Lefty's Logic, and I have with me local boxing trainer and strength and conditioning coach Mark Greenwood from Chicago, Illinois.
Peace. I'm waiting on the phone, man. I'm sorry, bro. Keep going. Keep going. Nah, we here. We in this. We in this. You know, we have fun with it, too. You know what I mean? Come on, let's get it.
All right, so we about to get deep in this main event. It's on HBO pay-per-view November 19th. So can you give me your evaluation about Kovalev as a fighter, strength and weaknesses? What does he do well? What does he not do well? What can he do to, you know what, let's back up. Strength and weaknesses, Kovalev. What does he do well? What does he not do well? Give me your rundown.
Strengths, power hitter. Definitely aggressive at times. I think he knows how to. As a matter of fact, I think he knows how to counter well. I think he knows how to move and slip a punch to counter with a punch. So I'm not too not impressed with that. I think for his style, I think he's pretty decent with it. As far as his weaknesses, I'm not crazy about his footwork. As I am with other slick fighters.
Okay, what about his footwork? What does he do wrong with that?
I think his stance tends to be a little wide at times, from a little wide at times to being all the way closed at times. I've seen him where his legs ended up closed together, trying to move out of a situation. Instead of we're using one leg to pivot out of a situation or roll out of a situation. So I think you can be sloppy with that. I think that was one of the things that B-Hop was trying to work off of was, trying to move and adjust to his footwork. His footwork is just, to me, not the smoothest. But at the same token, it worked for him to beat B-Hop, but this is something that I think Ward will probably capitalize on. I don't think Ward will allow himself to get, tangled up like that. I think Ward is going to be a one-foot mover as far as pivoting out and rolling out of situations, So, but as far as his weaknesses, that would be one thing that I would be looking on. I've seen him a lot with his hands down. You can't be that way with the fast puncher or somebody who's slick or somebody that uses anything for a target. So just because you got your hands down, you're gonna think, no, a person's just not gonna shoot for a face shot. You got chest, shoulder, everything's a target. So, and I think a smart fighter is gonna take advantage of that. Versus
Andre Ward is definitely a smart fighter.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So strength. Okay, what did you see pre-non-activity between Andre Ward then? So we're talking Super 6. We're talking pre-2011. And what's his game now? What is the difference? What does that mean for this fight?
I think the difference from back then with his fights, I think Andre Ward at this point is he's definitely a matured fighter.
Yeah.
And my bad. And I think he's settled down into his fight game. I think he uses the flat foot motion a little bit, but I think he's settled down. I think he sits more on his punches. I think he punches a lot harder than what he used to because he's actually sitting in his punches. He's using his legs. He's using his hips. He's punching from waist below, versus, muscling up and trying to throw as hard as possible. He's punching from waist below. And I think that's going to make a difference with the fact that, he's getting ready to fight a hard hitter. He's going to fight a hard puncher. So, but I think he's going to be able to counter and come back with those same type of power shots. I think it's going to look like, it wasn't that hard, but I think you'll start seeing a wear on Kovalev when he's getting popped with some of Ward's punches.
Okay, and what do you see Kovalev's game plan coming into this fight, given who Ward is right now? What do you see Kovalev trying to exploit, and then I'll follow up and I'll give my view after.
Well, I think they're definitely going to try to expose Ward in a sense of things that other fighters have not done as far as exposing Ward. But Ward has a good defense. He has a good offense. Like I said, I think he's a much smarter fighter. Not that he didn't have a smart stand. I think it's just his maturity level. I think he's more laid back. I don't think he's caught up in all the hype of being knocked out or knocking somebody out, or even, dealing with a lot of the hype that, you got fighters like Mayweather and Canelo are dealing with. I think he's just more to himself. I think he's about his craft, which, yeah, all these boxers out here, any boxer that gets in the ring, I don't care if you're amateur or if you're doing it for a fight night or a fight club, anybody that gets in the ring and puts on some gloves and the headgear and throws punches, I consider you to be an elite fighter. I consider you to be a part of an elite club. Same thing with coaches, but I think with Ward, I just think he's much more mature. I think, and I think Ward knows that, but wants to try to expose that, open them up and expose them. And I think at the same token, I don't think Kovalev. I'm sorry. I don't think Kovalev wants to have to go a distance with Ward. I think his goal is if he can knock him out, he's gonna try to do that ASAP. Because I think at the end, after 5, it's a wrap. That's a fight that he's not gonna win. If he doesn't hurt him within that 5th round and finish him within that 6th round, yeah, it's gonna be a wrap.
Yeah, he's only gone 12 twice.
Exactly.
And my view on Kovalev and how he'll try to attack, he's gone 12 twice, but I consider B-Hop and Chilemba, who Kovalev both fought and went the distance with, I think those styles, they're a lot more similar than from Andre Ward's point of view. They share a lot of similarities. Chilemba doesn't fight like B-Hop and Chilemba and Ward. All 3 of them do not expose the center line. Right. They look to roll the shoulder and counter. B-Hop not so much anymore because he's like 80. But, I think that there are a lot of similarities between those 3. And if you can't knock Chilemba out and if you can't knock B-Hop out, you're not going to knock out Ward.
Exactly.
Unless he just catches one with a lucky shot, which this is boxing.
Element of surprise always.
So, however, I think Kovalev's going to attack. Now, we were talking about this earlier. I think Kovalev tried to attack B-Hop and Chilemba with feinting to get them to move their feet so he could work on them on the ropes. Right. Instead of just straight jabbing and double jabbing and triple jabbing and wasting energy,
right,
he feints and then he'll jab off of that. And he gets B-Hop and Chilemba and gonna try to get Ward to move his feet to get him in a compromising position to commit to a defensive move,
right,
in order to catch him in a bad position. I think that's why even to a lesser extent why Madonna was successful against Mayweather. He because once you feint, then you jab and double jab off that, and you get to that secondary defensive move, to that third defensive move. And after that, no matter how good you are defensively,
right,
you might get popped on the tail end of that combination. I don't know. What do you think about that?
Well, to touch on that as we did earlier, I think the whole feint thing with Ward and being able to jump on him, I don't think that's going to work. The reason that it was successful with B-Hop is because even when he feinted and then jumped into B-Hop, B-Hop automatically went into his defensive position. And that's one of his things, until you back up off of him, then he comes. Ward, I can see Ward, you feint, I think at the same token, he's going to be ready to punch. So even if you feint and try to feint at Ward to get him into a compromising position, I think Ward's going to be ready to punch. I think he's going to be ready to throw as soon as he tries to feint and come with the double jab. I think it's going to be something waiting on him. It's going to be something waiting on him. And then the thing is, I think Ward also is going to be prepared that if he's anywhere near the rope and he tries to do that, I think it's going to be a thing of he's going to be ready to spin out of there and take it back to the ring, take it back to the center of the ring. Because he's not going to be afraid to box with him. You see what I'm saying? But to lay there and let somebody pound on you, I don't think Ward is just going to take that chance. I don't think Ward's going to let him set that type of fight.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, but as far as with B-Hop, when he was doing that move, he was able, because B-Hop went into a crouch position and he would stand straight up and take punches. You see what I'm saying? So that definitely, I don't think that's going to be the case with Ward. And I see Ward trying to set up some feints. I definitely see Ward trying to set up some feints. So I think that's what's going to make it interesting. Who's going to draw who?
Yeah. Well, one of the key things to look for, I think, is how does Ward react to Kovalev's feints? Does he try to move his feet? Because if he moves his feet, he's going to find himself on the ropes.
Right.
Like you said, and I agree with it. I don't think that Ward's going to move his feet. I think he's going to try to move his head.
His head, exactly.
And that's what Chilemba and B-Hop did not do. They moved their feet.
Mm-hmm.
Kovalev supporters are talking about Ward doesn't have the feet that he used to have. I think he does. I just don't think he's flashed them.
Exactly.
Because, like Mayweather at an older age, flashed those feet a couple times when people said that he didn't have them anymore. But he just didn't flash them. He didn't use them.
Right.
He didn't use them. So I think Ward, like everyone's talking about the inactivity he had. It just means he has less miles.
Right.
Less miles on the legs.
Exactly.
He's had 5 fights since the tail end of 2011. I think that's big. I think a guy like Ward is special. I think a guy like that always stays sharp.
Always.
So, what's another key that the viewers can look for to kind of predetermine the winner of the fight in the early rounds? I think that Ward, I want to see how he reacts to the feints, and then I want to see, a guy like Ward and B-Hop and Mayweather, because Ward is in that class of fighter. He's on that level. He hasn't. I don't know if he's proven what they've proven yet, but he's only 32 years old.
Exactly.
So, he's on that level. So fighters like that, they somehow, right? Like, you're a viewer at home, you're watching, and it's like this big puncher against this boxer, and both of them end up throwing 35 punches around. When the puncher came up throwing 75 punches around, and you're wondering, dude, if you just throw a punch, well, Floyd Mayweather Sr. once said that, was it Floyd Mayweather Sr.? He said, in order to get a guy to stop doing what he's doing, you got to start doing something to make him stop doing what he's doing.
Right.
So there's something going on there, and it took myself to get in the ring to figure out why that would happen.
Absolutely.
Now, we talked about this earlier. How does that work? How does that happen?
Well, one of the things, it's like a guy, say you got a guy who's aggressive. You got a guy who's aggressive. It's just like the story that the sparring session I was just telling you that I had 3 weeks ago. And my corner told me, hey, be careful, this guy comes forward nonstop. And the guy came in, he's throwing, he's well. And I like to work. I like to punch, move, look at angles. I like to try things that, hey, let me see how this is working for me, but this guy's throwing bombs, boom, boom, boom. So I'm like, okay. So I started backing myself up a little bit and allowing myself to, instead of when he would get to me, I'm already punching him in the body. I'm already dropping down. I'm hitting him in the body and I'm moving. I'm hitting him in the body and I'm moving. And it's working. I'm coming up. I go in a 1-2-1-2 really quick, pop, 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 and get out of there. I'm not throwing big and heavy, even though I'm a heavyweight. So then really quick, he switches to southpaw. So I start working that, knocking his hand down, hitting him with the same hand. So he comes back throwing big. So I spin him around. I drop a heavy right hand on him. I had to throw harder. Because I wasn't really I was throwing hard, like you'll feel it, but I wasn't like trying to throw a knockout punch. So once I threw hard, boom, I threw a straight right, and then I came back with a right uppercut. Popped the headgear off, it slowed him down. So then the next round, he was ready to box. You got to get that, sometimes you got to knock the little monkey off of him. That's like got them going, like really quick, but you slow them down. And sometimes you got to hit a person a little bit harder, like, hey, slow